This is the final voting session for the LDC spending plan for FY27. Again, this is the spending plan that would start on July 1st, 2026 and run through June 30th of 2027. So fiscal year 27, calendar years 26 and 27. And I think we will be relatively efficient. The goal at the end, just so that everybody's clear on our objective, kind of review any changes from the initial plan. And then at the end, we will take a vote on the whole plan, unless there are pieces that individuals would like to take up separately, or to provide notes or comments as the final plan is being authored or put into the budget for the mayor's submission and the city council's approval. So if that is, if everyone is okay with that being our objective, let's go ahead and jump in. I'm gonna take it on, Chris.
Yep, so our agenda, obviously we should do a round of introductions real quick. Then we're excited to share the new Cliff logo and some branding that's going along with that. We're going to sort of refresh everyone with where we are. We're doing a lot of work internally on the process of developing the spending plan, tracking the success, and then analyzing the results. And so we'll talk a little bit about where that is now, where it's moving. Just take a quick peek at the FY25 year in review. I sent everyone a very long document earlier with all the information that you could want to know about each of the projects and programs. It's not fully complete. There's still some information that we're waiting on. There's still a couple things that are still outstanding, so it's not done yet. It's just those project info forms, and then we'll provide a more comprehensive look at how we spent the money and trends and stuff like that in the coming months. And then of course we will talk a little bit about just one change to the spending plan that we are presenting, and then we'll vote, and then we'll talk about next steps.
Let's get to it.
All right, so if we want to do introductions, we'll start to my right.
Hi, folks online and in the room. I'm Natalie Cohen. I'm with the Office of Sustainability, and I'm the Reimagine Middle Branch Program Manager.
My name is Chris Firehock. I'm the Casino Local Impact Fund Program Manager.
Hi, everyone. I'm Nicole Stewart. I'm the Assistant Director at the Planning Department. I provide both strategic and operational support to both of our local and programs.
Good evening, everyone. Neil Solo, Chief of Emergency Operations for the Mayor's Office of Public Services.
China McCurdy, work with Senator Bill Ferguson. Bill Ferguson, State Senator for the 46th District.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Peggy Jackson Jones, Chair of the Cherry Hill Community Coalition.
Then online, we want to start with, she needs no introduction, but Councilwoman Porter.
Sure. Hello, everyone. Councilwoman Porter. So sorry I couldn't be there tonight. I'm supporting the Well and Timonium for their fundraiser, but I hope you all have good food.
Please send them our best.
I sure will, sir.
See, Krista.
Hi, Krista Green here from Mount Clair Museum and Carroll Park.
Fantastic. Casey.
Hey everyone, Casey here. Sorry, took a minute to find my mute button. Live in Pigtown, president of Citizens of Pigtown, and happy to be here.
Fantastic. Robert.
Hey everyone, I'm Robert Beatty. I'm with the Westport CDC. I'm the community organizer for Westport.
Paige.
Hey y'all, Paige Tamaro from the Stoop Coffee Shop in Pigtown, as well as Greater Pigtown Merchant Association.
We also have non-LDC member, but important community member. Lisa, would you like to say hello?
Hello, can you hear me?
Yes.
Hi, good evening. Lisa Hodges, Executive Director, Westport CDC.
Who's next?
All right, I think that's every, is that everyone?
Fantastic. That is everyone. So let's go ahead and let's see, we were hoping to have our magnificent designer online. However, she is teaching a class at MICA right now. Natalie, would you like to, Natalie shepherded this process and really, really happy with the outcome. So thank you, Natalie.
Yeah, of course. It was, so we're working with a recent MICA graduate. Her name is Hannah Yang. And she has designed and helped with branding for two other teams within Department of Planning. She worked with the Pimlico Community Development Authority, the other local impact aid group. And she also worked with our food planning and policy team. And so through those, stunning reviews and really incredible designs that she created, we tapped on her as well. And so we have been working since about September on this logo and branding. And so on the left is our final logo. It's the Hanover Street Bridge, of course. The radiating lines kind of emulates a casino chip a little bit, growth, connection, and just opportunity. And we stuck with the City of Baltimore colors, the black and yellow. And then, as many of you are familiar, the South Baltimore Gateway Master Plan has 9 goals that drives the plan, and CLIF, the Casino Local Impact Fund, uses that master plan as its driving force as well. So we've got these cool icons for the different goals. We're looking at opportunities to, really have branding at different capital investment projects and having benches or yard signs or banners. So like this example of the logo on a bench. There's also opportunities for swag and giveaways like bags, and I would suggest reusable coffee cups, not disposable coffee cups. But yeah, so that's what we're working with.
Right. Yeah. So very excited about that. Hopefully get you all some swag soon.
Yes.
And then Nicole, were you going to use it, right? Yeah, so the spending plan process, again, we presented the draft spending plan on December 8th. We issued a survey to the LDC to record any questions and feedback. And offered also via email, phone, or through meetings. We had an agency Q&A session on January 8th with many of our partners to help get some of the questions answered, have some more dialogue. That went really well. And then, of course, we are here today to meet and discuss any last questions, any outstanding concerns, and then to vote on the spending plan. So
I'll do this a little bit. I think we were missing maybe some of the icons there that I missed. So at our last in-person meeting in December, we spoke to some of these more broader improvements that we're making within the planning department to both align to highlight the work that Chris has already been doing around process improvement, but also to make sure that we're aligning both of those local impact aid programs. In addition to-
Sorry,
Yeah.
Paige, could you cross yourself on mute?
I muted her.
Okay.
Thank you.
And as well as really highlighting the things that we're doing around both transparency, accountability, and participation. So the previous slide around process, if you go back to that one real quick, Chris, one of the items in terms of participation and making sure that people have enough information, the LDC has enough information about recommendations. We're offering an optional mid-year LDC meeting in order for the LDC to make any process improvements or to receive more in-depth updates around any of the projects that are ongoing. And so that is a part of us providing more opportunities around feedback and input from the LDC. And then that next slide is around I believe this is around accountability, transparency, I'm sorry. And so part of this is, of course, these project info documents that Chris has been working on over time. We sent those out in order for you all to have information on the front end around the projects, the funding, scope of work, performance measures, as well as those line item budgets. In addition, summary documents we are moving forward with making sure that these summary documents are available before that first meeting of the year, so that you have all of that information going into those meetings. And then upcoming in FY27, we plan to have more detailed project request forms ahead of the process as well. The PIMLICO local impact aid, we developed our dashboard in order to be able to both track spending as well as outcomes. That's still a work in progress. It's currently live with the spending information, but the goal is to also have performance measures, performance information in such a dashboard also for Cliff. And then next slide really quickly, around that accountability piece, every project currently and going forward has performance measure information with both that describes both the activity, the performance target, as well as the goals, and then also in the reporting that will happen quarterly to the state that will then track our progress toward those targets every year based on the funding that's allocated. And then a little bit on process, there was a question at the December 8th meeting around, funding that is going to city agencies versus funding that is going to, perhaps a community group or a nonprofit. So we just wanted to make sure that a few things are clear. One, that people understand that this local impact aid, 50% of that does go to South Baltimore Gateway Partnership. On the front end, the remainder that you all are discussing tonight as a part of this process is what is under the LDC's purview to provide recommendations about. As you all know, the state legislation requires hearing and counsel from the LDC, a 45-day review. And we're in the middle of this process in order for ultimately for the mayor to make the final determination about what makes it into the actual city budget. All right, next slide real quickly. And then once those allocations have been made, we just wanted to provide this view of what it looks like when it is an agency-led project versus a partner-led project, either operating or capital. So for any of those scenarios, it requires for anything that is going to a partner-led project, that still, since it's a part of the mayor's budget, that still requires a mechanism in order to be able to either through contract or grant, get that funding through a city agency to then out of as a part of the mayor's budget through an agency to that partner to execute those programs or projects. And that's through a contract, as I said, or a grant agreement, et cetera, that involves oversight and overview by both our legal team at Baltimore City, as well as our finance department approving those agreements and the standards that they require. So that is just an overview of, I think that's the last slide. Yes.
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. Ooh, there we go.
Just to sort of catch up people who are new, prior to FY25, we didn't really have much of a framework for reporting out what was going on in the projects and programs that we funded. There was reporting happening. It was more of an ad hoc manner, and so we started to also PCDA. Again, we're part of the reason Cliff went to Department of Planning was so we could sort of start to play off of each other's strengths, and they had already started creating this project information form, and so we adopted it, and it lays out. So if I Yeah, I think we're replacing got hit by a bus with won the Powerball, right? So if I won the Powerball and said, sorry, everyone, I'm leaving. Someone could go in there for each program and say, this is the person running it, this is the fiscal contact, this is the budget, this is everything. And then, so again, we have for part A, which we don't share with you all because it's all internal stuff, just administrative things. And then on the front end, again, what is the project? Write it out in plain language. What is the budget? What is the timeline for implementation? What are you trying to achieve? And we started asking for performance measures, quantifiable things that they are saying, this is what we're gonna do. And then we track it on the back end, which is the part C. So this first year has provided us with significantly more information. Different partners had different relationships with reporting out like this. And so we've been going through some growing pains there. But we've got a lot more information and people are on board more and they're appreciating it more because it's giving them much more of an idea of what are we really trying to show here? And they're asking more questions now. And well, this, you'll see in FY27, there's some new performance measures that I think get a little bit more to the heart of what we're trying to do. And then FY26, once we're done with all this, we're going to start doing some reporting on the first half of the year. We'll do another one for Q3, another one for Q4, and a final year end. And that'll give us momentum going into FY27 to hit the ground running where everyone's used to doing quarterly reporting. And we can just do it on a much more regimented basis. And then all of this will be, once it's done, published to the website, shared with the LPC. So more transparency, more accountability. And again, we'll continue to solicit LDC feedback on how we're doing this and then what it's saying and what that means for the future.
Sounds great. Any questions? Yeah, let's keep going.
Great. So again, in the coming months, I sent you all 120-page bundle of CPIFs earlier today that has been refined and updated. You'll see that there's some missing information. We still need to keep following up with the agencies to say we need this information. So you'll see that in there. Again, we'll publish FY26 and FY27 Part Bs, which are again the scope and budget, and then we'll start sharing this Part Cs for FY26 as soon as they're complete. So this is we're getting better data out of agencies, and we're starting to get them thinking more about what they're doing. There's been a lot of questions about what does the casino crew do, and what's the impact. We don't have a lot of data, but the data that we do have, it's interesting. You can sort of see this is for dirty streets. Proactive cleanings. That is when the casino crew is out doing corner cans. They see a street is got a bunch of trash on it. They record that. They go and they clean it up and they record it. We have that metric. We also have 311 requests to see how many people put in a dirty street 311 request. And as you can see, the total number of dirty street requests, was kind of high, went down, went up, dropped precipitously. But the percentage of street cleanings that were proactive has been going up. So more is being done on the front end and less has to be called in by the residents. So I think that's a relevant data point. And something we can continue to track. Same thing for dirty alleys. You'll see that the proactive casino crew cleanings for dirty alleys has gone up significantly. And again, that percentage of cleanings that was proactive goes up as well. And that's not including clean floor. So that's a great look there. Next one. I'll go back. Oh, it's missing. Oh, there's one there's missing one. We did have one on trash can pickups, which is a little bit harder to track because they do the corner cans every single day. They don't count how many times they empty out a trash can, so it's sort of hard to compare that.
And the reason why we presented this information is because there had been certain questions about it. And so we are also, I don't think it might have made it to this deck, but there are some other, in addition to this information, We have additional capacity to dive in a little bit more deeply on some of these metrics around the clean food what we're asking, which DPW has been definitely responsive and great partners and trying to lay all this out. In addition, we have asked them to also be able to specifically identify these 311 requests specific to this so hopefully by FY by the time the fiscal year starts, we'll have more information specific to the school.
And then one other thing I want to share with you all. Nelly, go to the next slide. Go back one.
I may need to refresh.
You may need to refresh it real quick. Yeah, there we go.
So that's an example.
Let's say, Nicole, if you want to talk a little bit about this.
Sure, and this is just something we've done for Clean Four in other neighborhoods. We did not have enough time to pull this out for Westport. But this is the kind of analysis we can do with respect to cleanliness and presenting information around the broader cleanliness efforts that are happening across all of the casino neighborhoods, whether it's Clean Four, DW, additional through the SBGP is hiring, and so this is a snapshot of where we intend to try to get to, because we do recognize this cleanliness question is very important to the community, and there are a lot of resources going towards this that we want to present as full a picture as possible.
And so that's a little bit of snapshot of the type of information we're trying to provide more of, and we want to expand on that in FY26 and definitely in FY27. So that's it for sort of where we are in terms of that. Does anyone have any questions about FY25 reporting or? No?
Here's not.
Okay, so to move on to the FY27 spending plan, again, we won't rehash every program, but we do want to talk to you all about an opportunity that has come up to more aggressively address the amount of unhoused individuals in the Westport area. And with us today is Nii Soa, who is the Chief of Emergency Operations for the Mayor's Office of Homeless Services, and he put together a plan to really target that population with more services and outreach, and I'll let him take it away from there.
Awesome. Thank you, Chris. So what I did share is relatively high level. We can go granular, and I'll see if there's any follow-up that's needed. I'm happy to provide the information. As I shared during our last meeting, I onboarded with the Mayor's Office back in September, and really just assessing how things were going, what needed to be done, just started identifying certain gaps. And so there are areas citywide that some things are showing up a little bit different than others. More specifically in this area, the council manager districts 10, 11, and then in Westport, there's a need. And there's an obvious need. There is ongoing requests that continue to come into our office. And overall, it just really helped to spark being a little bit more innovative, but very direct and intentional about what is not only needed, but how do we address it and then sustain it, which is a piece that I'll talk about briefly as well. So overall, relative to the need, there is definitely need to help reduce homelessness. Very, very straightforward, but however, it is very complex. The area that I believe we have an opportunity to really help to move the needle is providing targeted outreach and more intentional outreach. Typically right now, if we receive requests, our team will be dispatched, they will engage individuals, build rapport. That is a part of the process. Sometimes people take full advantage of services in that moment, but then we also have individuals that are service resistant. And so that puts the work that we do in a very interesting space, because there's activation that's taking place that could take months and years in some cases, but the community is really asking, hey, what is going on? And it also impacts current investment and future investment, homeowners, things of that nature. So targeted outreach and really invested in time and a resource to connect individuals to resources that are available. The reality that I and our team and agency understands is that resources are limited. And so how do we actually leverage those resources? So in addition to relationships that we currently have right now across various city agencies, and it's kind of growing into a few state agencies, but right now city agencies, how do we leverage what we're doing? Because literally we were all connected. So being able to support the work that we do could help 3 or 4 challenges that other departments may be having. And so in saying that, one of the things that is currently underway and is a larger conversation is around permanent affordable housing, which shows up differently. There's housing itself, there's the renting out of rooms, there's a variation, but how do we continue to work with our housing partners for just resources? So we've started marketing some of what we're doing and really just connecting to the community. Different individuals that have access to housing are starting to reach out to our office, and someone needs to own that relationship moving forward. So really focusing on permanent housing. With the emergency shelter system right now, there's no current plans that the city has to increase the number of permanent beds, which creates a challenge in many areas. There are current conversations taking place around what the city identifies as long stayers. So these are individuals within emergency shelters that have been there for a significant amount of time and don't, at least on paper, present as having barriers. So really work with that population to help them along their journey to free up additional slots. And then one of the areas that we think can make a huge difference is around diversion. And so we, in many cases, will engage individuals as well as families that funding to help support rental assistance, utility assistance, that some nonprofits are already doing, but not necessarily doing it in a way that we're proposing, can not only help them from becoming homeless, which creates now a domino effect of how do we support a family? Are there any slots? There are a number of different considerations that come into play. And so what we're proposing is a small pilot fund which would require a screening process to really work with families, not only to divert the impending eviction, but now how can we actually connect you with workforce and other areas so that this is not an issue 30, 60, 90 days down. And from a performance metric standpoint, didn't necessarily have opportunity to lay it out here, is really tracking that. Supporting someone, say in this particular area, what happens there in 3 months from now, 6 months from now, 9 months, a year from now, they back in that situation, do we help them to get into a better place? And then overall, just coordinated approach to the work. Many of the individuals that we engage that are service resistant, there are a number of different factors, but there are 2 factors that sort of rise to the top. One is around substance abuse, and the other is around mental health. And so one of the things that is also being proposed here is that we are able to bring on board a peer recovery specialist that understands outreach, understands engagement, but also has the skill set at a deeper level to address some of those disorders. We have a good handful of individuals on our team right now that have that skill set. They're not necessarily trained in that area. It's really from experience that has helped them. But we believe that it requires a deeper dive. And just sort of close the loop here with service resistant individuals is realizing that it is going to require more intense approach. So not only will our outreach workers, but along with the peer recovery specialists, really target them, like going to them on a more consistent basis, following up with them. That rapport actually goes a long way in helping someone sort of move along that journey. Next slide, please. So this is high level where the need is, where the vision is. This sort of captures it a little bit. I know some of the things that shifted here, but as I mentioned with the outreach.
You gave it to me perfect. I don't know what happened.
Yeah, all good, definitely.
First time noticing it.
But this just really helps to pull together everything that I mentioned, except for one relatively new thing here is relative to data management. This is an area that I think is an opportunity for us as a department, but then also looking at what really matters to the residents of District 10, Westport in particular, but whatever the community may be, how do we help to not only identify, but create that narrative from a data standpoint? The data will not give the full story, but we know that there's a balance between the qualitative side of what we do and the quantitative side. And so really want to emphasize that and work with the board and the committee to identify what that means. There's some things that we're required to track, really based off of funding and the city may ask, which may not necessarily translate into the information that if I was a homeowner in this community is actually letting me know, are things getting better? So we really want to have a nice healthy balance there. Next slide. And then there was one other slide, I don't know if I removed it relative to the budget, proposed budget, but based off of. It was more like salaries and other personnel costs relative to the homelessness diversion component. Requesting an investment of 50,000 in there. Obviously, that amount could be adjusted. General overhead really to cover and augment some of the city funding, but to cover like gas, insurance, things of that nature. Relative to the staffing, so the current allocations that we receive help to cover the majority of 2 outreach workers, homeless outreach workers. What's being proposed here is to maintain those 2 and then add an additional 2 outreach workers and a peer recovery specialist. Depending on the funding and the allocation, the goal is for those positions to be full-time employees. If there needs to be an adjustment, maybe on the onboarding, that can be converted over to contractual. We think the full-time FTE allows for us to recruit the best talent and then retain them. But really starting off, we could adjust between full-time staff as well as contractual members as well.
Question.
Yes, ma'am.
Can you go back to your first slide? You mentioned that you know there's a real need in Westport. So what do you do? I don't see anything for an emergency plan for individuals who are on the street in Westport when you have weather like we're going to have beginning tomorrow.
So I can share sort of real time the space that we're in and what's happening. Based on the upcoming storm, there's a number of things that are being activated. But I'll talk relatively, I don't have the data right in front of me, but I'll talk to what we're doing. So as the team goes out, there are specific areas citywide, but it's broken down by district of where do we have encampments that meet the city definition of an encampment. We actually come out, we have a scoring rubric to identify those encampments, and so they're put into a prioritization chart for us, which is reviewed weekly. The ones that are more of a high priority and not based off of physically where they are, but there are a number of different factors, health and safety. There is actually a work group that happens every Tuesday morning that we go through those different things. And so the different aspects of that encampment. So with inclement weather like this, what outreach team, so MOHS has an outreach team. We also partner with Downtown Partnership and People Encouraging People to cover the city. Every team activates in a different way. So from the emergency shelter side, our current city funded shelters, because the city doesn't fund all the shelters, they boost up their capacity. And then it's broken down by single males, single females, families, and then couples. Because we do have a number of couples that they will not come in unless they can stay together. That is by each shelter location. And then what happens on the outreach side, every team is going to be required to not only visit those encampments, but we also have areas that we call known areas. May not be an encampment, but we know the individuals. They're going to be required, or we're required, to visit those sites on a daily basis and as best as possible track the goal. We have what we call a winter shelter tracker for individuals that accepted shelter and those that declined. One other thing that we're working with Baltimore Police Department on right now, as well as the health department, is around emergency petitions. So even when the weather is critical, there will still be individuals that will decline. And in some of those cases, we may need to activate. This individual is not operating in their best interest. How can we activate it? It is a temporary scenario, but it's something that we have planned as well. Our outreach team, so there's a shelter hotline that typically is the workday, 8:30 to 4:30 during the weekday. And then when we activate winter shelter, it extends to 9 p.m. So we have 8:30 to 9 p.m., not only during the week, but also on the weekends. And technically, and there's another component to it for individuals that may go to hospitals to sort of seek shelter. Hospitals can reach out to at least 2 of our locations all the way up until midnight. And then another component has to do with transportation. So some individuals will be willing to go into emergency shelter and they're willing to take public transportation. Our outreach team all have city vehicles, and so they are available also to transport individuals, and 2 of those vehicles are vans. So that helps with transportation. And in addition to that, just to remove that barrier, we'll reduce it, is we have a contract with a transportation company, TaylorMade, and they actually have a route that goes around the city and to all of the emergency shelters. So it gives transportation, it gives us more flexibility. So those are the things that are being activated now.
We got a question in the chat from Robert from Westport. And, you know, this has been a big part of the conversation about that, is that their homeless community usually squats in vacant homes. So how do you sort of find them and work with them?
It's a 2-parter for our team. And what I mean by that, typically if someone is squatting in a dwelling, if it, normally get feedback from the community. Someone will see it, 311, I'm concerned, whatever the case may be, and can identify it. So there are 2 things. We will dispatch a team, but we cannot physically go onto the property unless it is a public property. If it is privately owned, we then partner with the Department of Housing and Community Development. They will then dispatch one of their team members to also visit the site. The nuance there is now that, and actually a really good question, and actually we have a few examples, real-time examples. Individuals may be squatting, our team has engaged, they declined services, but because the property is privately owned, HCD now has to cite the owner. That owner now has to enforce trespassing for BPD to enforce. So that during that entire process, our team is still actively trying to engage and sort of incentivize individuals to go into shelter. So it's a straightforward process, but it's involved. It's definitely involved.
Can I ask a question about, particularly for Westport, I was there, I don't know, maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, door knocking, and the pavilion, not pavilion, the patio, it's not called patio, the terrace, I'm not sure exactly what, right by the light rail stop. MTA has the light rail stop, but then there is the, like a, you know,
Plaza.
redone plaza, that's what it's called, plaza. Yeah, it's a plaza that's right there, was redone relatively recently, it's become a real, it became really tough, right? And it got way worse than I had seen it in a bit, and I was told that was nothing compared to what it was maybe a couple months previously. I was pretty taken aback by how it had gotten there. In the 2 additional MOHS folks, and you know, obviously totally supportive of doing this in the most humanistic way possible, that with treating people with dignity and respect. But the plaza is a lot. And so what happens there?
So no, I've actually seen the plaza as well. What I don't know if physically that lot is city or state owned.
That was
that is city.
The plaza is city, the light rail stop is state, and the neighborhood's done a lot of work trying to navigate all this, but yeah, MTA police are not responsible, do not engage on the plaza, which is city.
So there are a couple of things that we can look at and sort of brainstorm and activate on. So with it being public property, thank you for that information, is, I don't know if it would meet the designation like as a park, you know, dawn to dusk compared to the light rail. Signage, I'm not sure if it has signage there, no trespassing, no loitering. That helps to support if it gets to to an enforcement standpoint. The other component is just steady engagement and outreach. It doesn't, I would say it doesn't, in my opinion, that's a solve the issue. It may address it, solve the issue long-term, let me put it that way. But that consistent engagement lets individuals that will consistently be there know that you're gonna see this guy or this gal will come on an ongoing basis. They're gonna offer you services, and sometimes people take advantage of it. But we can look at some of those kind of components. I don't know if, and this may be more of a HCD question, is whether or not that space can be designated another way to provide other options for us. That part that I don't know.
And my sense is, especially talking to neighborhood leaders in Westport, is that if there were funds shifted to enhance the MOHS staffing, that is a hotspot of concern that, and you know, the light rail has provided a a lot of non-residents come in and out of Westport and are using a lot of the vacant buildings. I mean, you see it, you walk in the middle of the day, you'll see there's a lot happening. I think the MOHS allocation there will make a big difference if they are really, I mean, focused like a laser for 6 months on how can we, yeah.
It's doable. We actually have a couple other locations around the city where a couple of things, and not to go too much into the weeds, is with that constant engagement, starting out with a particular schedule, they also understand some of the habits of the people we work with. Once they know our schedule, they'll share. They just won't be there when they know that we're coming. So then we'll stagger that as well, and then that gives an opportunity for another opportunity to engage.
Lisa, I saw the question. So I guess the recommendation was to shift funds from the clean core towards MOHS. Is that accurate?
Well, it wasn't shifting so much as, you know, we had put that 500,000 for clean core as a placeholder.
Right.
While we refined, you know, exactly what the cost would be. And so part of it is coming from that. The other part, is the 500,000 for the, Middle Branch Phase 2 trail, Phase 2 of the Middle Branch Trail that goes in between Solo Gibbs Park, up to the Inner Harbor. The original ask for that was 500,000. And so I went back to them and said, you know, how much of that you actually need to get to the point where you're saying, this is how much this is going to cost, because this was, you know, just for planning. And so they said, you know, 350 was sufficient to get the planning done, so then they would know what the actual capital cost is. So we were able to bring 150 back from that as well. And then, City Watch said they really don't need the perpetual 30,000 a year, for maintenance. So we went and scrubbed that. They reserved the right to ask for it in the future, but, we're just gonna leave that alone for now.
Is that able to be up on the screen so the folks?
Yes. The budget.
Or the budget? I
The
mean,
budget table. It's, not showing.
This is,
Sorry, we're having technical
oh
issues.
my God,
I think it's paused.
sharing.
You need to go back to the window you were sharing to resume.
So other than that, that is the only change that from the initially submitted plan. That's accurate.
Correct.
So I guess at this point, the question for the council is on the approval of the larger plan. And let's we have that up so that folks know what we are looking at.
You know, sorry.
Sorry.
I'm trying, I'm having difficulties.
It's always great when it works and
I know.
sometimes it doesn't.
Well, everything was fine and then I got.
Well, let's share.
Here we go.
While we're waiting, I know there was another question. There was a, and I think, you know, this was another Westport, item that came that was related. That the Clean Core, there was a little bit of concern about the Clean Core, fidelity. And then there was a recommendation around a contract that the Wanata West North Avenue Development Authority is using for cleanup purposes. The name of which I forget is the name of the entity.
Frontline management.
Which one?
Frontline.
Frontline. And, is that something that was contemplated or considered or where?
So I don't think trust is on the line, so I will wear double hats and speak to that, right? So Frontline Management actually was one of the contractors, a clinical contractor for insurance and cleanup.
Okay.
So we brought them on in addition to, Civic Works and Volunteer, for our strategy to provide services across the city. So they are another, Clean Core vendor. They are not a nonprofit. And so I have not seen an actual recommendation with the budget and scope that came through this process.
If that was provided, the Clean Core still has, we're looking at goal number 2, the updated allocation is at 411,000. If that were approved, would it still be possible for a specific targeted program to be, if that's something that the neighborhood thought was effective?
So I would want to understand what the actual request is. So the Clean Core team addresses both Westport, St. Paul, and non-compliance. And so then I haven't seen what the actual request is. Is it for, a different team, an additional team? Or is it a change in vendor for all neighborhoods? I'm not sure what the recommendation is. But I would also, that is what I would say, but they have been a Clean Core vendor before, the same data platform. But again, and to whoever made the recommendation, I know that they also do some things around, violence, interruption. But again, I haven't seen it didn't come through this process.
And these dollars would continue an existing Clean Core
Yes,
contract that is in place.
Yeah.
Got it.
and so that means if we did shift, then those numbers would then be unemployed.
Got it. So that would be and the Clean Core is like a city run, the Clean Core, the current one that is operating is a city run Clean Core
So yes,
team, is that correct?
yes, and so Boston Secure had 4 Clean Core teams. 2 of them are funded, which will have those teams will actually continue through FY26. There's the South Baltimore Gateway Partnership Team, which has a different scope directly associated with what they requested. And then there is a regional team for West Point, St. Paul, and John Wyatt. I'm sorry. And so, yes, and so in addition, what we've done over the last maybe month or two, maybe just a month, what we've worked out with the DPW team, some of the things that we had heard was about around that, I believe it's around the light rail station, where there's just a whole lot of traffic. And part of the issue is these are well-known dumping spots where the Clean Core team would have to spend a significant amount of time cleaning up all the time, every day, which sometimes creates tension for some of the people who are otherwise engaged in the neighborhood. And so one thing that we worked out with the W team was for them to provide some extra support at those specific locations so that the regional team could do more around the whole of the rest of the neighborhood. While that DPW team was focused, spend some time focusing on those hotspot dumping areas. So that's a part of the coordination that we do, with DPW.
Got it.
And we're continuing to refine our solid waste portfolio between us and the Gateway Partnership and what they're doing and what we're doing, or where the gaps are. Natalie's working on a new shoreline cleanup project. So this is like an active, ongoing. We've got a really good new partner at DPW who's really going to engage and move things around to address needs, so.
And then let me make sure I answer the question specifically. So that amount is based on our calculations for a request for our nonprofit partner, Boston Secure. If we're changing vendor, that number might not be the same. And in addition, there are just some other considerations, but it would still be a vendor where previously where I explained how this allocation works. If it's in the mayor's budget, it would still need to go through a city agency.
Yes, right.
I will be able to get to a contract or grant.
That makes sense. Any type of quote direct grantee would be through an agency. That makes sense. All right, well, that was the only question that came to me in between. I know there were lots of conversations that had happened previously and through with the agencies. Let me just see if this would be the recommended LDC budget, or the mayor's budget recommended by the LDC. Remember, this is an advisory vote. Before we get to the vote, are there any questions, comments, thoughts, concerns about this worksheet before we take a vote? It appears not. If that is, it appears we may be ready to move forward. Yes, going once, going twice. All right, so I guess we have 8 members present, is that right?
Taking a last minute look real quick. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 online. And we have 2 in the room, so we're at 9.
9. Okay, so we have 9 members present. I guess we do it like this. I don't think we need to do a full voice vote. How about we start with, are there any votes in opposition to the approval of the budget? Please say nay if you are opposed to recommending this budget. Well, then by acclamation, all in favor?
Nay.
Was that a nay?
Yes.
1 no, okay?
Yes to nay.
Right, okay, we have 1 no. So now the question is, all in favor of the budget, say aye.
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 Going to take those who have not said anything that we have not heard as an aye, as not being opposed. If that is the case, the vote would be 8-1 to recommend. Oh, 1 abstention, 7-1 to 1. Okay, and online, okay. 7-1 to 1. With, in favor of the budget moving forward. Any questions, concerns, comments, or things to add in the approval of the budget? Not, I think that does it. I think we have approved the budget for, recommended the budget moving forward. Let's see, are there any additional items? Thank you all very much for your time. Do we have additional items that we want to?
We do.
Okay.
Yeah, so again, we are continuously open to engaging in the LDC more consistently throughout the year as we are reporting out, as we are planning for the next year, as we're looking at our processes. And we're open to, the input from the LDC as to what that looks like, who wants to participate. So we will be reaching out to survey people, to talk, to see what people would like, how they would like to be involved. So that will be upcoming. We may have a meeting, may just have, maybe a meeting on social. And also trying to do more outreach to LDC members as we do ribbon cuttings, and so forth and so on, so we can enjoy those. Again, quarterly reports are gonna resume. And then, again, we'll be having those detailed, project info forms published, available, so people can see exactly what the work is that they are looking to do. And also dashboards that will show, analysis by geography, by project type, by goal, all the different ways that we want to parse it, so we'll keep working on that. I am going to be sending out information for everyone on the ethics requirements for the LDC. So last year, basically for 2025, you will have until April 20th to submit your financial disclosures. I'll send all that out to you. It doesn't take long. And then there's a couple other ethics requirements, and the ethics board will reach out directly to LDC members to get you signed up for that and just make sure everyone is covered and understands the various obligations. You all are all technically city officials, so there are certain legally binding things that are attached to that. So
Excellent. All right,
is that
is that
it?
everything?
That's it.
All right, the last thing I just want to say, maybe we can suggest to the folks, Robert and Lisa, if there's a way to do a wetboard focused follow-up, maybe I think that would be helpful. The MOHS front, I think that would be helpful.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you all. Thank you to the planning department. Thank you all for your work on this. Thank you to the members of the LDC for being here this evening. And We will follow up for the mid-year check-in.